Welcome back to another episode of Ink Drinkers Podcast with Leah and Mandy. we wanted to help you guys get to know us a little bit better. I know we did a whole intro episode and you know a little bit about our goals, but we thought we would share some of our favorite reads. Now, this is not a top 10.
Nope.
This is not in any order, and by no means is this an exhaustive list.
Yep.
But we thought it would be fun for us to give you guys an idea of some of our favorites and also to maybe surprise one another with what we brought.
Yes, absolutely. So today we're going to stick strictly to the fantasy genre and kind of go through different books, like Leah had said, that are in our favorites, but not necessarily a top 10 in any order. Because let me tell you, this was hard for me to narrow down into a short list. And so I kind of gave myself an out-ish by with the caveat of saying it's a possibility that I picked one of these books because of an entire series or because I love an author a specific way. Because like I said, very hard to narrow it down just to 10 that have in a way kind of influenced my reading or just really stuck with me over the time. So I'll start with my first one. Cinder is my first book in here. The Luna Chronicles series is a great mesh between sci-fi and fantasy, but also having fairy tale retellings in it. Each one of the books follows a different of the princesses, and it sets up this own amazing magical world. And when I stumbled across this series, I read this one, I was lucky. I found this series after it was fully published, including with the new covers. And I devoured it. I mean, I remember finishing the book, going to the store, getting the next one, finishing the book, going to the store, getting the next one. And I think this is also the way that I found Marissa Meyer as an author as well. And so I was able to dive into more of her books after reading this series. But if you love a fairy tale retelling, if sci-fi and fantasy are genres that you really enjoy, this series would be a great place to start.
I also had Cinder on my list.
You and your beautiful versions.
I do. I love this book. I love this series. I could not recommend it more. I could not agree more. She does an amazing job weaving all of the stories together and making everybody come together at certain points. I obviously I spent money on the whole series as special editions. One of my all-time favorite series as well. I will start with Nevernight Chronicles. I saw this one on a shelf several years ago and was like, okay, maybe. And I put it off for a long time, finally purchased it, and fell in love. It's a trilogy by Jay Kristoff, and it follows Mia, who is a girl, and she decides to infiltrate kind of a famous school of assassins. And you follow her story. She kind of you're kind of wondering what her motive is for doing this, especially after you get in there and realize how brutal, absolutely brutal it is. And I could not love her more, and her journey throughout all three books, watching her grow from where she is in the beginning to where she is at the end of the trilogy is beautiful. And the people that she finds along the way, you'll probably see a pattern in the books that I choose, but found family is huge. Cinder, this, and I could not recommend them more. However, I would check trigger warnings for some of
Yeah.
these. There is a lot of blood in this one. So if that's not your deal, maybe not for you, but one of my all time favorites.
Yeah. I've started that series, but have not gotten further than the first book.
Yes, I strong armed her into it. I strong armed my husband into it. I make everybody try and read that.
Yes. So the next one that I'm going to pull out of my stack is actually a thanks to you. We've talked about this series so much. I think you know what I'm going to pull out. The David trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. Starts with City of Brass. And I don't know that in the more recent years I have found matchy matchy
Mm-hmm.
that I have found an adult fantasy series that I've loved as much as this one.
Yes.
The world is rich, the magic system is rich, the characters are so well developed. Um, Everybody's got their own motive. Sometimes you're even rooting for the bad guy because you
Mm-hmm.
want redemption. There's just so much about this series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it follows Nari, and she starts off in Cairo, um, and is able to pull a djinn out of this magical ring. She summons him, and she and Dara go on a very epic journey to Daevabad and realize that there's just a whole lot that she doesn't know about her past and her
Mm-hmm.
history and the history of the jinns themselves. And it was just phenomenal from start to finish.
Yes. I strong arm people into reading books, but it's so good. And she's like this like lowly con artist. She can like kind of do these little things here and there, and she summons this djinn, and then she's like, holy crap. And just the way that S.A. Chakraborty like builds a world and pulls in
Mm-hmm.
all of this myth and like legend, and you don't know where she's going, and you can't predict like how things are going to
Mm-hmm.
end up, and how she can have so many different points of view,
Yeah.
and just following the characters. Everybody, like you said, is so well rounded that
Yes.
everybody has their faults. Nobody is just, the best person ever. And like where Nari starts to where Nari
Yes.
ends
Oh my gosh.
is absolutely like just
Mm-hmm.
enchanting.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
And if there's anybody out there that's read the original trilogy and has not read her set of short stories for the River of Silver, I highly recommend that you run out and pick it up. I just recently read those, and it was just a sneak peek to dive back into either scenes that you've already seen, but now you get more things of, or even like a continuation, depending on which story you're reading. It was perfect. Don't read it prior to the trilogy.
Good to know.
She's very specific in that before each one of the stories, she will let you know what books are about to be spoiled if you read the short story before you read the
I am one of those people that needs to read those short stories.
book.
Um, the next one may or may not be on your. I know you love it, but
Mm-hmm.
as I've said, like in our like looking forward to episode, I have a lot of cozy fantasy. And one of my absolute
Oh,
favorites is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree.
I didn't put it in my pile, but I do love that
I
series. Oh,
absolutely love this. And I love Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is
mm-hmm.
the other like, no, I wouldn't say sequel. It's another one of those ones that like is in the
Kind of
same
prequely.
kind of prequely. It's with the other character, one of the main characters, and how like what she did before this, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you necessarily need to read one before the
No.
other.
Uh-uh.
And this is just such a beautiful, like cozy story. It's about an orc who is done with battle. She wants to just open a coffee shop, and ends up doing so in a small town. And the town is kind of like, I don't know about this at first, and how she like slowly wins them over, but then her
Mm-hmm.
past catches back up to her and what she
Yes.
needs to do to like set things right. It's fantastic, is heartwarming, another found family, and I like if you haven't read it and you're a cozy fantasy person, I bet you have because it's everywhere. It's
Yes.
all over
Yeah.
social media. But consider picking it up if you want to like put your toes into cozy fantasy,
Hmm.
because this is the perfect doorway.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the next one on my stack, this one is all because of my mom. Um, I had to include the Harry Potter series.
Hmm.
My mom found these books when I was same age as the main character, starting out. And it really shaped me as a reader because my mom found, like, set out my foundation of like the love for fantasy, the love for reading. We went to midnight book releases. It got to the point where we both had to get our own version of it, and we'd be yelling down the hall to each other, have you gotten to chapter so and so, and things like that. So this one's in here because of just the childhood memories that it brings back for me,
Mm-hmm.
and just that foundation of the love of reading that this series brought me through my mom, through everything. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
was just, it's one that will always have a place in my heart because of that.
That's fair. I totally get that. I let's see. I have two by the same author. Um, so I don't know if I should do them together
Go
or
for
not.
it. Why not?
So I last year, maybe 2024, found Brandon Sanderson. I had heard so many people talk about him, and I was recommended the Mistborn series by probably 20 people. And I had been very hesitant. At the time, I wasn't reading a lot of male authors. I was reading mostly female fantasy
Mm-hmm.
authors. And so I wasn't sure. I was like, why? But I picked up Mistborn and I haven't looked back.
Mm-hmm.
Mistborn, I couldn't find my original copy of the
Mm-hmm.
first one. So this is the second one. Um, Mistborn eras 1 and 2. And also, like I mentioned in the series I want to finish, the
Mm-hmm.
Stormlight Archives. The way Brandon Sanderson writes characters, I can't get enough of them. With Mistborn, you see Vin, who is like this young girl who is orphaned. She's on her own. She has this like luck, as she calls it, and can like kind of influence people, and she doesn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up with this like crew of outcasts that are trying to overthrow the government. And it just like the way that the characters interact with each other, the found family there is absolutely beautiful. And like I love the way that
Yeah.
we not only see their like heist type of thing, but the relationships. And Way of Kings in a very similar manner. Like the characters in this book are so well written. I'm rooting for them. I'm hoping that they're going to get through everything. There's laughs, there's tears. I like it really, the investment you put in. And yes, this is only part one of
Mm-hmm.
a two-part book, so quite chonky. Um, is totally worth it in my opinion at the end. And the intricate magic systems and worlds are just so rich. I can't get over them. So if you are looking to dip your toe into Brandon Sanderson, I would recommend either starting with Mistborn or one of his secret projects like Press in the Emerald Sea or Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Those are both
Mm-hmm.
also really good.
Alrighty. The next one, for all those romantic people out there,
Oh, there it
I
is.
had to pull in the court books. Sarah J. Maas in general. I want to say that she was my dive into romantasy. Honestly, like, or when maybe that's where that term kind of started getting
Yeah,
thrown
I think
around
so.
a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
that there was this romance, but it was also so grounded within fantasy, and so we merged those together. um the the reason why I love this series, honestly, is for the characters. um I love her other series as well. I love The Crescent City. I have gotten through most of Throne of Glass. See me at the end of 2026. I'll catch you and let you know how I've done with my reread to finish that series. This is just one that I have reread the series multiple times because there's just something that I love about the relationships, and not just the romance relationships, but that found family kind of feel between all of the characters as well. So that one made my cut.
Going off of that, I have one that I don't think gets talked about enough on social media. It's Kings of the Wilds by Nicholas Eames. I absolutely adore this book. If you've ever like played like D&D or games where you have like a band of characters going through an adventure, this is that book. It's surrounding they call themselves a band that disbanded a long time ago. They're older now, they're raising their families, but one of their daughters gets captured and he comes and needs to get the band back together to save her. So it's them older now trying to work together to save his daughter. It's beautiful. I absolutely like it's hilarious. The found family in it is absolutely amazing. The things that they go through, it will like make you laugh out loud, but also like tug at your heartstrings. I'm actually considering making our book club read this. But if you haven't picked this up and you love a good adventure story with a found family, I definitely would. It is fantastic. It is kind of a duology. There is a second one called Bloody Rose, but this one is definitely my favorite.
All right. I don't know if this one will have made your pile, but I know that it's one that we both love. I grabbed House in the Cerulean Sea. This one gets at my teacher heartstrings with the whole orphanage aspect and the kids and the romance, but also the found family within this one. There's just something where, I mean, I want to take these kids, even though they're fictional, and I want to put them in my pocket and take them home with me and just protect them and love them and watch them grow into the amazing people that I know that they're going to be one day. This is one of my all-time favorites when it comes to representing found family. Love this one.
It is. It's a good one. Taking a little bit of a left turn, one series that I know is beloved is the Greenbone Saga. I picked up this book actually because of my husband, not because he's read it, because he hasn't, but because he absolutely loves like martial arts movies and lots of like Japanese and Chinese themed media. And I had heard so much about this that it is like kind of like Yakuza based. And so I picked it up and oh my gosh, am I so glad I did. I finally finished the series this year. And when I finished Jade Legacy, I was like, I want to go back and reread the whole thing. It follows a family that is kind of like in a mafia situation. And the magic system in this is based on Jade. If you can channel magic, you channel it through having Jade. And it's the family through generations and their struggle with other rival families and how they move through the world. It is not found family, it's actual family, but it is masterful how the magic system works and how the dynamics almost politically work together. And so, like, if you like an intricate magical world with a little bit of like grit to it, I'm not sure I would call it quite grimdark, but it's like fantastic.
All right, I'm staying more on the cozier side over here. Um, Howl's Moving Castle, one of my all-time favorites. Any Studio Ghibli fan out there that has seen this movie, if you have not gone back to read the source material, you definitely should. This, the movie does an amazing job of capturing every moment of these characters and the journey that they go on. But the found family within this one, the mystery and intrigue behind Hal himself, the magical background between him and Calcifer and what's really going on within this world is really, really, really amazing. And then the love story is just heartwarming. It's one of my all time favorites. I read it when I was a young child. My mom and my brother introduced me to the world of Studio Ghibli, did not realize how much better it could be by, taking something you love and putting it to a screen adaptation the way that they did. But hands down, one of the best reads out there. If you haven't read Howl's Moving Castle yet by Diana Wynne Jones, you definitely should.
That is a fantastic one. One series that we have both read and we both really love is The Extraordinary Adventures of the Athena Club. The first book being The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. This is an interesting one that it's kind of fantasy, kind of more science fiction-y. It takes place in our world, but with Mary Jekyll is like the main person in the first one, Jekyll and Hyde, but we also have Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. And like they are trying to figure out a mystery, so it kind of like bridges the mystery aspect too. And it just checks all the boxes. Like there's strong women characters. I'm a Sherlock and Watson mega fan. And I just like I think for this series, actually, the second one is my favorite, which is not something that happens very
not very
often.
often.
But this is one I think people don't talk about at all. And it does have that found family aspect. It does have strong women characters. And it has things from, it's not exactly a retelling, but elements from familiar works that really just like piques your interest and is like, "Ooh, I get that from here. I understand that reference." And so I think if you really like those things, like Frankenstein or Dr. Moreau, you will also love this book, this series, the whole series.
The whole series. The whole series. Okay. I had to mention, the king of fantasy, J.R.R. Tolkien. The Hobbit is a book that was forced upon me actually in the seventh grade by my English teacher at the time. She gave it to us as a book that we needed to read, but it was interesting because she gave us the book to read, but then also we had to do like a project based off of it. And it was like one of those like bingo board things where you got to choose how you gave the book report. And I ended up making a coffee table book out of this, like out of all of the different scenes and things. Like that was my way of doing it. It was one of the choices. And I can't thank my seventh grade English teacher enough for introducing this work of art to me because it's honestly one of the more epic, rich fantasy books that I've read. And it really gave me a lot of love for the genre. Years later, I was able to go back and get the trilogy for the Lord of the Rings, and I have read those. But if anybody's wondering, like, are these books actually like worth reading? Start with The Hobbit. It's a lot lighter, a lot easier to get through. It's a nice little toe dip into his world because you want to talk about somebody that has really thought through the process before he was able to like write the story. Like he developed full languages, full
Mhm.
ancestral history, like all of the things that make this world as rich as it is before he even started writing the story down. I think it took him somewhere close to like 17 years to get The Hobbit and his trilogy written.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, it's definitely a work of a lifetime.
It's such an epic. You can't really talk about epic fantasy unless you talk about Tolkien.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one is one I found several years ago while I was studying abroad in Germany. I had picked it up, I think, in an airport, and it's called The Black Witch.
I
This
love
is
these
by
books.
Laurie Forrest. It is one I have not seen many people talk about, and this book, the world, we keep talking about rich worlds.
Yeah.
Obviously it's fantasy, but this is so rich in that she has developed so many different
Mm,
kinds of people, the political system,
mhm,
religions, how like
mhm,
historically these groups of people interact. And we follow Ellerin Gardner, who is like the heir to the
mhm.
Black Witch, but seemingly she doesn't have any
Magic.
power. And so her grandmother was this like scary, ultimately powerful figure, and everybody expects her to also be this person, but she has zero
Yep.
zero power. And so she starts going to this magical school and is starting to meet people of all different
Mhm.
kinds, and how maybe things aren't the way that she has always been taught.
Yeah.
And so a coming kind of like a coming of age, more of like an opening of the eyes story, and how um, people you've been taught are scary might not be scary, and people that
Yeah.
weren't scary might actually
Yeah.
be. So if you have not
Mhm.
even heard of this,
Yeah.
please,
Yes. I
please
second it.
take the time to look this one up. It is so good. I
Mhm.
have the fourth and fifth ones to read, and there's a couple novellas.
Yeah.
It's one I'm determined to finish this year.
Yes.
It's so good. Please, 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 please consider this.
Okay, so I'm going to pull one out. I don't know if this made your stack, but I know that we both really loved this one. This is a newer one for me, The
Mm,
Book of Doors
so
by
good.
Gareth Brown. This book hit me like a
Mm-hmm.
surprise ton of bricks. I picked it up because the back of it sounded so captivating. We're following Cassie, who works in a New York City bookstore, um, and she comes across this, older man. And then like you're just seeing her day-to-day interactions and everything. But then she stumbles across the Book of Doors. And this
Mm-hmm.
is one of those series, or not series, this is one of those books that I was really worried that the tie to the bookstore and the books themselves would just be that thing that like caught the reader and didn't like actually hold some really great potential for the rest of the story. And it's not. Like there is so much behind the magic, behind the books, behind the characters, the motives. You almost get kind of like an espionage feel to this book.
Yeah.
There's some timey-wimey stuff. There's just so much. And then you can like the relationships that are built. I don't know that I'd necessarily call it found family at all,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just some really great connections between characters. It's grounded in, the United States right here. So there's not really world building to do, but there is a magic system to slightly understand, but it's
Mm-hmm.
so well developed that
Mm-hmm.
it was such an easy read. And I have started recommending this book to literally like anybody that says they're looking for something new in fantasy. It's a phenomenal read, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs to check it out.
Yeah, that was also it. It isn't in my pile currently, but that was a shocker for me. I remember picking it up in the store, and I looked at it a couple times and I was like, I don't know. So I kind of went into it with low expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and then reading through it, I was like, wow. And
Mm-hmm.
really, I feel like I had picked up the second one, which was recently published
Yeah.
towards the end of 25. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I have to read the first one first. And I'm so happy that I did. It was
Mhm.
so well done. It was so, like, just a welcome surprise,
Yeah.
and I know you've bought the second one.
No, not yet. I haven't.
Oh, maybe you asked for it for
I
Christmas.
did. I
Um,
didn't get it, so I'm waiting.
I also wanna get my hands on it
Yes.
because it sounds amazing, and it seems like it might be one of those ones that's like a semi-sequel where it's,
Yeah.
like, in the same
Episodic-ish.
world, but not necessarily direct the same
Yeah.
characters. Um, my second to last one is one we've both read,
Oh,
and
I already know it by the edges.
it gives me it made me feel everything.
Mhm.
And that's Blood Over Bright Haven by ML Wong. That, like, these two feel very similar.
Mhm.
They are about, this one is also about a woman who um, is in a magical school. She is, however, the only woman in her department
Mhm.
and is very much like ostracized because of
Yes.
that. But she is pushing through it. Um, and she also meets somebody who is of a different um, people than her
Mhm.
and kind of creates a little bit of a friendship with them and starts to learn that things might not be as they seem or as
Yeah.
she's been taught. ML Wong is another one that I am hoping to read her other big book, Sword of Kaigen, this year. Um, this made me feel rage in a way that I can't describe. Like, I got so angry for the injustice that is in this book, and when you can make me feel an
Mhm.
emotion that strong, it's
Yeah.
automatic 5 stars. So if you have not read this book yet, you definitely need to pick it up. It is so
It's a
good,
great book.
and there's so much just, like, to talk about, to think about, and to make you stretch your mind.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right, my second to last is I picked my favorite from this series.
Mm.
Um, Down Amongst the about blah, 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 Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shannon
Yes.
McGuire. This is a series of novellas.
Mhm.
It is the Wayward Children series, and it is a different way of looking at magic versus non-magic and things like kids that don't necessarily belong finding their doors to the world that does fit them. So the worlds that they go, the doors that they open, the worlds that they go to are just as different and dynamic as each one of the kids are.
Mhm.
There's definitely this found family sense. They're very episodic. There are
Yeah.
some that connect a little bit more than others. I would definitely say if you're going to dive into this series to read it in order because you do get glimpses of characters, especially further on. She does tie back and bring characters back from time to time. But this second one is is my favorite of all of them because of the characters and the fact that she pulled from two classic horrors of Dracula and Frankenstein for this one.
Mhm.
I eat this series up. There's a new novella that comes out every January. I'm looking forward to the next one in this. There's just something wonderful, heartbreaking, but also lifting with each one of the stories because she does a phenomenal job of talking about really real, sometimes dark topics,
Mhm.
adoption, abandonment, all sorts of things.
Mhm.
Um, through these stories in such a beautiful way. They're so thought provoking, but
Mhm.
they're, like I said, they're all novellas, so they're short, quick reads,
Yes.
but they sit with you for forever.
Mhm.
So if you're ever looking for something in this realm, I highly recommend picking up the Shannon McGuire series, The Wayward Children. Um, Every Heart a Doorway is where this
Yes.
one starts.
They're just so fantastic. It's like the dark side of portal magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these kids go to these other worlds. What happens when they come back?
Mm-hmm.
And they've been through all of these things, some of them having lived lifetimes
Yes.
in these other places, and then they get spit back out in their original place.
Mm-hmm.
And how do they cope with that?
Mm-hmm.
And will they ever get back? And maybe not. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a school where they end up,
Mm-hmm.
and all these adventures that they go on. I also quite love that series and can't wait for the next one because there is another one coming out soon.
Yes. Yes. Be sure.
Mm-hmm. Be sure. This, I believe, is my last fantasy. Um, it is the Six of Crows duology. I I've read the Shadow and Bone series, and I was like, not really a fan, but I'm a sucker for a heist. I'm a sucker for a heist book. I love a heist book. And Six of Crows was pitched to me as the ultimate heist book um, in a fantasy world. And I picked it up, and it is absolutely that. You follow these characters who are like a bunch of outcasts that have to like band together to get this heist pulled off so that they can save their club. And each character is so interesting and well rounded. Again, found family, but there's also so much richness in this world. And how are they going to achieve this like insane plan? Um, I absolutely love the characters. Would way recommend this over Shadow and Bone. Um, if you haven't picked it up, which it's been out for years, there's even a show. If you've watched the show, still read these books because they change things. But one of my top favorite duologies ever.
All right. Last one in my pile, Princess Bride by William Goldman. This is a copy that my husband actually found at a horror convention, surprisingly enough. Just a bookshop that was there with other things. I do have a more recent edition of it, but collecting. But it's fantasy, it's romance, it's satire, it's pirates, it's knights in shining armor and castles. It's everything that you think of when you think of like medieval fantasy. And it's a beautiful love story, but also in a way kind of like an edge to found family as well. It's just really great friendships, really great adventure, and a lot of laughs along the way.
Well, I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into what fantasy means to us. Obviously, like I said, like we both said multiple times, this is not an exhaustive list.
No.
This is definitely not in any order. But these are some of our favorites.
Yes.
What are some of your favorites? Have you read any of these? Would you recommend anything to us based on these? And some of the insight that we have given you into why we love them.
So next time we're going to do a very similar situation here, but instead of diving into fantasy, we're going to be showing you some of our favorite mysteries, some that have stuck with us and everything like that, because that's the other genre that Lee and I have bonded over throughout the year or throughout the years of knowing each other and everything. So maybe give us a couple of hints leading into the next episode of some of your favorite mysteries, and we'll see if they end up on our lists.
See you next time.